Two people go into the forest with a box in the middle of the night. From that box emerges a girl with white hair. Her name is Alicia. Realizing she has reverted to when she was 10 years old, she wonders if it's a dream and laments why she had to return to this exact moment, remembering that she was abandoned here before. Just then, two wolves approach due to Alicia's commotion. She gets scared but gathers courage, deciding to pick up a stick. She declares her determination to survive and not let this second chance go to waste. With bravery, she attacks the wolf and manages to fend them off. Shocked, Alicia questions if she was the one who defeated the wolves. A voice responds, assuring her that it wasn't her and suggesting that using a twig wouldn't work. The voice advises her to try her best and stand her ground for a higher chance of victory. Alicia is startled and thinks to herself, wondering why Duke Ballin is here when she hasn't met him in her previous life up to this point. She thanks him for helping and asks for one more favor. Duke Ballin agrees to listen. Alicia requests to be taken to Earl Creed's family and promises to repay him in the future. Alicia reflects, realizing that she's in a situation where she needs help more than ever. She acknowledges that if Duke Ballin can use magic, she'll need his assistance even more. However, she's troubled by the rumors surrounding him. She's heard that he doesn't age or die, and there's talk of him using dark magic to achieve this immortality, a practice that involves sacrificing humans. Alicia is left wondering about the truth behind these rumors. Ballin comments on Alicia's presence in the forest, mentioning that she couldn't be wandering alone at such an hour. He questions if she intends to return to the mansion where she was thrown out and left to die. Alicia ponders his words, realizing that he seems to have hit the mark with his assessment. She acknowledges her fear of returning to the mansion. Alicia responds, expressing her decision to stop running away, understanding that nothing would be solved by continuing to hide and run. Ballin thinks to himself, admitting his dislike for getting into trouble. Alicia addresses Ballin with respect, calling him Your Excellency. Ballin offers his help, which surprises Alicia, but he sets a condition for his assistance, asking her to keep today's incident a secret. Alicia agrees and promises to do so. He then opens a teleportation portal with his magic after a snap of his fingers. Alicia is impressed, thinking to herself about how she's heard that teleportation magic is difficult to use, and she finds Ballin's ability really cool. Ballin cautions Alicia about the upcoming teleportation, advising her to hold his hand for safety. Alicia firmly grasps his hand. As soon as she does, Ballin senses something and pauses for a moment. Alicia notices this and asks Duke Ballin if something is amiss. Ballin reassures her, saying it's nothing, and urges them to continue with the teleportation. They both arrive at Creed's mansion through the teleportation portal. Alicia, impressed by the experience, thinks to herself about how she can move to another place in a split second, just like the rumors suggest. She expresses her admiration for Duke Ballin's magical abilities, calling him Magical Duke. However, Ballin remains silent and doesn't say anything. Alicia wonders if he finds her annoying. She thanks Duke Ballin for bringing her there and mentions that she knows the way from that point, intending to continue on her own. Ballin leaves the area, mentioning that he has created a path that won't be heated by magic fire. Alicia waves to Ballin in gratitude and promises to repay him. On the other hand, Ballin looks at his hand, the same hand that Alicia held. He feels that something is amiss. Meanwhile, Alicia quietly enters the mansion. Feeling downcast, Alicia thinks about the eerie silence, realizing that no one seems to have noticed her absence. She hurries inside, determined to make a change this time. She reflects on her past, remembering that on her 29th birthday she saw her own face for the first time. The Creed family, despite lacking proof, never gave up on her because she was the first person blessed by God. Now she's determined to find a way to change her fate. Alicia suddenly feels a presence. It turns out to be Maid Cecil holding a lantern. She addresses Alicia as Lady. Alicia instructs Cecil to keep her voice down, not wanting to wake everyone up. Cecil is curious why Lady Alicia has come. Alicia looks somber, and Cecil notices her sadness. She asks if something has happened. Alicia smiles slightly and asks Cecil to call for Larry, as she has something to say. Then, Alicia heads to her room feeling downcast, thinking about the events of her past. Alicia reflects on her past, acknowledging the importance of not resisting and struggling in order to survive. She remembers countless chaotic and confusing memories, but believes that the more one fights to survive, the more tragic their death becomes. She recalls her first meeting with her father at the age of 22, who coldly accepted her death penalty. On that day, it was also her 22nd birthday. Alicia realizes that her father didn't know he had abandoned her life, and even in her death, he remained unchanged. She doesn't feel surprise or resentment, but rather guilt for those who died because of her. She questions her actions and choices from that time. Alicia contemplates her family's reputation and the significance of being recognized as Earl Creed's daughter, a figure of great honor and wealth within the empire. She realizes that possessing documents proving her parentage could make her the master of a shrine. However, without such proof, she'd be seen as a homeless child. She reflects on her mother, who was dearly loved by her father but passed away while giving birth to her. Alicia understands the coldness of her father and the persistent unhappiness that seems to be an inherent part of her life. Alicia is startled when Lake, the representative of the gods, summons her. Lake questions her whereabouts and urges her to come closer. Alicia, feeling alarmed, asks if she can stop now. Lake reveals that up to this point, Alicia has regressed 29 times. Alicia is bewildered and asks who Lake is. Lake understands her lack of memory and introduces himself as Lake, a representative of the gods, the one who has been aiding her in the process of regression. Lake finds Alicia's behavior strange and different from what he knows about her. He recalls that each time Alicia returned to this point, she was deeply upset and always begged for her life, wearing a crying expression. This time she's different, and he wonders if it's okay. He contemplates the nature of memories and expresses his concern to the gods. After that, Alicia lies down in her room, deep in thought. She contemplates the advice from the lake god, understanding that she needs to find happiness to end this cycle. However, despite going through this 29 times, she hasn't been successful. Determined to make a change, she resolves that this time must be different. She's grateful for retaining her memories thanks to the lake god. From now on, she's determined to build her own strength and vows to protect the people she loves. On the other side, Sepper and Grace Rotten, the Emperor's half-sister and Count Creed's stepwife, questions another woman about Alicia's return. Grace asks if Alicia came back alive with no injuries. The woman hesitates to respond. Grace expresses her frustration, questioning the woman's ability to handle a 10-year-old girl. The woman pleads for another chance, but Grace is clearly angry, stating that she has already given her numerous chances. The woman attempts to explain that the servants in the outbuilding didn't leave, making it difficult, but in her anger, Grace shoves the woman to the ground. The woman continues to plead for another chance, but Grace sternly tells her to shut up. Grace, in her thoughts, reflects on how she believed it would be easier to handle Alicia in the outbuilding. She expresses her annoyance with Alicia, likening her to her mother. She harbors the desire for Alicia to disappear so that she and her daughter Jesper can have everything to themselves. As Grace looks at the woman, she thinks about dealing with Alicia later and instructs the woman to go back and wait for her next order, planning to employ a more secure strategy. Alicia reflects on her attempts to mend her relationship with her father in the past. Since she couldn't meet him directly, she chose to send letters, even though she never received any replies. She realizes that she needs to find a way to make him pay attention to her life, even just a little. She decides to continue writing her story in an honest and precise manner, acknowledging that it might seem nonsensical. But as long as it's something she can do, she's determined to give it a try. A knock is heard at Alicia's door. She responds, yes. When she sees Larry at the door, she is happy, but her joy fades when she notices that Grace is with her. They bring breakfast. Noticing that Alicia seems to have had a good morning, she asks if she can come in. They begin a conversation, and Alicia asks her why she's here. Grace, appearing somewhat uncertain, suggests that she might be in the wrong place. Alicia, feeling a mix of emotions, tries to hide her fear. Grace notices Alicia's discomfort and suggests that she should leave. Before departing, she tells Alicia that she wants to share something. She expresses concern about Alicia going out early in the morning, stating that it's dangerous, and she worries about Alicia like a mother. Grace hints that she might send more servants to protect her temporarily. Alicia, upon hearing Grace's words, thinks to herself that it's clearly an intimidation tactic. Grace asks if Alicia understands, and as saddened, Alicia responds with a reluctant yes. After Grace leaves, Alicia contemplates her situation, realizing that staying in the outbuilding may be a safety measure to prevent harm. Despite her initial worries, she gains confidence and vows not to let Grace have her way. Larry arrives and expresses concern for Alicia's well-being, to which she assures her that she's fine and asks for help in cleaning the table, which Larry readily agrees to. Alicia asks Larry to share more details about her father, assuring her that even small pieces of information would be appreciated. She reassures Larry not to worry about anything. Larry, aware that Alicia had avoided discussing the Count recently, hesitates. She then admits that she doesn't know the exact details of what happened at the main house, but she does know that the Count is very curious about Alicia. Surprised, Alicia asks if her father is genuinely interested in her, to which Larry affirms yes. Larry informs Alicia that it's been said the Count has read all of her letters, which the maid who used to clean them mentioned. She advises Alicia not to worry too much and mentions that the Count is returning. She suggests that Alicia could consider sending him letters and gifts. As Larry leaves, Alicia agrees to call her if she needs anything. Alicia is pleased with Larry's suggestion, but still finds it difficult to meet her father face-to-face. She decides that sending a letter is the best approach for now. A few days later, the head of Count Creed's family, Deo Creed, returns home. Grace welcomes him home, expressing her relief that he returns safely and mentions that their daughter, Jesper, was worried about him. Jesper confirms her happiness at her father's safe return, but Daok leaves without saying a word. Grace follows him, seemingly trying to get his attention. Jessica observes this and wonders why her mother has to cling to him like that, finding it somewhat disgusting. However, she also reflects that her situation is still better compared to another girl's. When Grace asks Daok if anything happened during his expedition and mentions that she sent him a letter, Daok stops walking and responds sharply, asking if she's still going to bother him. Grace apologizes and then leaves him. Continuing on his way, Daok encounters Burns, the butler of the Creeds, who welcomes him home and mentions that he handled matters at the mansion during Daok's absence. However, Burns becomes quiet afterward. Noticing this, Daok inquires about the missing letter, and Burns asks what letter he's referring to. Daok is talking about Lady Alicia's letter, and Burns agrees to find out what happened, saying, "All right." Alicia and Larry are in the garden together when Larry comments on how the garden Alicia tends to blooms in all 4 seasons. Alicia playfully attributes it to the power of her love, even though she has never received love herself but believes she can give it. Suddenly, they hear a noise from the nearby trees. Larry looks toward the trees and asks what's wrong. Alicia quickly dismisses it, suggesting it might be a bird. Larry then offers to get her some juice and cookies as Alicia requests, and she agrees, asking him to wait a moment. When Larry leaves, Alicia calls out for Duke Ballum to come out, revealing that he was hiding in the tree. Alicia asks why he's there, and Duke Ballum questions if she didn't recognize him. He teases her for chasing everyone away, asking what she would do if he were up to something bad. Alicia, however, believes that if he were truly a bad person, he wouldn't have come looking for her during the day. She also mentions that she's not prepared to repay him yet for the help he gave her earlier. Duke Ballum clarifies that he didn't come there for that reason. Ballum kneels in front of Alicia, surprising her. She wonders why he's there. Ballum then asks if he can borrow her hand for a bit. Confused but willing, Alicia offers her hand. As Ballum holds her hand, he thinks to himself that this time he doesn't feel anything unusual. Alicia agrees, still uncertain about what's happening. Ballum then creates an excuse, saying he just wanted to check if she was safe. He adds a request for her not to tell anyone that he was there. With that, he disappears using teleportation. Alicia wonders if Ballum came because he was worried about her. However, she quickly shifts her thoughts when Burns arrives. Burns greets Alicia and mentions that it's been a long time since he's seen her, as she lives in the mansion. He asks how she's been lately. Alicia reflects on her previous life and how Burns had always taken care of her, but she dismisses the idea that he had no choice. Alicia expresses her wish for Burns to consider the events at the mansion more deeply. Burns reflects on Alicia's appearance, noticing how thin she looks even more so than her sister Jessie. He realizes that he shouldn't use the family's routine as an excuse. Burns kneels down and sincerely apologizes to Alicia, promising never to leave her alone again and vowing to never let her down. Alicia reflects on the reputation of Burns, acknowledging his capabilities and intelligence. Alicia and Burns exchange a promise, sealing it by linking their little fingers together. Alicia expresses her trust in Burns, who reciprocates her trust with dedication to serve the Creed family faithfully. After their conversation, Alicia reflects on her desire for a closer relationship with her father, wishing it were as easy as her interaction with Burns. Suddenly, she notices Larry's presence and questions why she's there. Larry expresses her enthusiasm to assist Alicia in sending a letter and gift to her father, promising to have Burns deliver it. Alicia appreciates Larry's help and expresses her gratitude. Grace and Daok sit together, having tea and engaging in conversation. Grace expresses her delight in sharing this moment, mentioning how she carefully chose the tea, hoping for more such times together in the future. She eagerly asks Daok for his thoughts. However, Daok responds with disdain, commenting on the unpleasantness of the tea's aroma. He then harshly expresses his aversion to spending time with Grace, which leaves her visibly upset. Grace, feeling upset, questions why Daok dislikes her so much despite being his wife. She wonders why he harbors such animosity, emphasizing that he should understand her better. In response, Daok dismissively states that the Emperor knows him better than anyone else, implying that his loyalty lies elsewhere. The meeting between Daok and Grace, as well as the loss of his wife Mior, all occurred 2 months ago. These events, along with his relationship with his own daughter, made Daok realize that he had a bleak future ahead of him. Daok, the Emperor, meets and exchanges formalities. The Emperor expresses regret for not arranging a marriage between Daok and his sister. Daok, still mourning his recent loss of his wife Mior, feels that fate has already decided his path. The Emperor emphasizes the significance of having the Count's daughter as a wife. Daok resolutely rejects the idea, asserting it's a matter of mere materialism. The Emperor, frustrated, sternly addresses Daok. The Emperor requests Daok to accept the marriage with Grace, emphasizing the importance of having a child with a certificate. Daok questions the credibility of the shrine's god and the idea of fate. The Emperor highlights the need for the power of the shrine that Grace possesses. Daok eventually agrees not out of obligation, but as a result of his close friendship with the Emperor. Daok, despite his grief over his wife's death, held a rushed but grand wedding with Grace. He questions whether it can be called love and feels that it's just a normal emotion. Following this, Daok focuses on external diplomacy, neglecting his family. Daok receives a letter from Alicia and finds it oddly reminiscent of the perfume his late wife Mil used to wear, making him feel uncomfortable. Balin and the Emperor discuss the situation in the south, with Balin assuring that he will resolve the matter within 3 years. The Emperor expresses concerns about the contract between the third Prince of Smilon and the Duke of Kalos. They also contemplate the loyalty of nobles to Olin's power and the unique nature of their own situation. Balin firmly asserts that he doesn't believe the rebellion will be quelled in 3 years. The Emperor responds with a stern directive, suggesting that if they fail to resolve the issue in that time, Balin should marry the woman the Emperor has chosen. Balin expresses his discontent with this idea, arguing against being forced into a marriage. The Emperor, undeterred, emphasizes the importance of companionship. Balin, however, insists on keeping his secrets hidden and promises to secure the land of the barbarians within 3 years, which he plans to give to the Emperor. As he departs, Balin reflects on his priorities, indicating that his focus is not on a woman, but on something else significant. Alicia surprises Cecil by expressing her intention to learn swordsmanship. Cecil is taken aback and finds it hard to believe, but Alicia is resolute in her decision. Cecil is concerned because Alicia is only 10 years old, but Alicia has her reasons. She wants to know how to protect herself and those close to her. She also realizes the importance of keeping this a secret from Grace. Alicia is looking for a place where she can excel in swordsmanship while safeguarding her secret plans. Alicia considers Duke Guardian's place to be the most suitable for learning swordsmanship. She believes that the Duke not only has excellent swordsmen, but is also known for his intelligence in keeping information secure. His fortress-like setup, with restrictions on outsiders and a small number of employees, ensures no leaks of inside information. Alicia is eager to learn swordsmanship there and asks Cecil to teach her. Cecil expresses concern about Alicia's determination to learn swordsmanship, but agrees to teach her. She emphasizes the importance of not overdoing it and asks her to inform her if anything happens during her training. Alicia acknowledges her advice. The head maid, along with 2 other maids, including Cecil, is assigned to oversee the security of Alicia's room. They acknowledge the challenges due to limited staff, but express their commitment to ensuring Alicia's safety. Alicia is feeling down because she believes everyone is suffering because of her and she can't protect herself. She decides to practice hard, even if it's just a little, to become more helpful. While practicing with a broom, she makes a loud noise and someone asks her what happened. Alicia assures them she's okay. She's determined not to give up and plans to visit the Duke Guardian's palace the next day to learn swordsmanship, since she can't learn her family's magic. She encourages herself to stay strong. Daok questions Burns for declining an invitation due to feeling unwell. Burns admits to it, but is then accused of lying about his condition when he went out in a horse-drawn carriage. Burns questions Daok's motives for wanting to meet Lady Alicia and suggests that Daok still doesn't understand the situation. He also points out that Daok had left Lady Alicia alone until now, making it understandable for her to avoid meeting him. Daok asks if it's his fault, to which Burns apologizes and advises Daok to take more time and approach the situation slowly. After Burns leaves, Daok reflects and acknowledges that it is indeed his fault. Grace meets someone who asks if she called him. She then asks if he has figured something out, to which he responds with uncertainty. Grace expresses that returning alive from a certain situation would be extremely challenging. In her dream, Alicia faces a threat where someone tries to harm her, but she calls for help. Unexpectedly, a comforting hand reaches out to her, and she feels a profound warmth from it. In her dream, Alicia wonders about the identity of this person and wishes they could stay with her forever. Alicia suddenly wakes up from her dream, questioning whether it was real. She remembers being in a fast-moving carriage on her way to the Duke's place and plans to ask him to slow down. But before she can act, she falls out of the carriage. Realizing the carriage overturned and wonders where she is, Balin appears and identifies her as Lady Alicia. He is concerned that she has been having nightmares constantly. Alicia questions Duke Balin, who assures her that they are in the Guardian Duke colony, and this mansion is the safest. He also hints that the carriage overturning was not just an accident, but an intentional act to harm her. Disheartened, Alicia suspects that Grace is behind all this trouble. Balin expresses concern, asking Alicia if she always has to face danger like this. Alicia responds affirmatively. Balin emphasizes that if he hadn't intervened, she might have been dead this time. Alicia asks about what the Duke meant. Balin advises her to eat as she has been sleeping all day. He mentions that even in her sleep, she talked about the soup she ate without bacon. Alicia is surprised. She reflects on why she's talking nonsense while sleeping at the Duke's mansion. Balin instructs Alicia to go down to the first floor after finishing her meal, mentioning that he will teach her swordsmanship, much to Alicia's surprise. Alicia questions how Bel knows about her interest in swordsmanship, to which he casually responds that it's just a guess, bidding her farewell with a promise to meet later. At Count Creed's mansion, Larry is worried about the lady's whereabouts and if she arrived safely. Suddenly, Cecil rushes in, alarmed, and informs Larry that the Count is extremely angry at the moment. The guardian of Duke Balin, Lech, approaches Balin and expresses his interest in becoming a teacher for Lady Creed. He mentions that he heard they needed a teacher for her and asks if he's qualified. Balin is curious why Lech volunteered, as he heard others hesitated. Lech explains that since Balin doesn't need bodyguards, he sees this as a chance to earn a living. He also believes he can get along well with small children due to his experience growing up with brothers. Balin, amused that Lech is the only one daring to call Lady Creed a child, agrees and tells him to give it a try and not miss the opportunity. Balin reflects, thinking that even though he volunteered, he doesn't see Lech having high expectations for the role. Alicia, under the Guardian's training, proudly reports that she has completed 30 laps. The Guardian is surprised by her determination, expecting her to take it easy since it's for self-defense. He asks if she's tired, to which Alicia insists she's fine. The Guardian proposes doing 10 more laps, which surprises Alicia. Though feeling exhausted, she agrees. In her thoughts, Alicia acknowledges the difficulty but resolves not to give up. She declares her intention to finish the laps. The maids motivate Alicia during her training, urging her to run properly to avoid falling. They encourage her to keep going. Alicia, feeling a bit teased, asks if they're making fun of her. Just then, Cecil arrives and asks the Guardian about Alicia. After seeing Alicia, Cecil is surprised. Alicia recognizes Cecil and asks why she's here. Cecil is concerned about Alicia's intense workout, noticing her sweat, and mentions hearing about her injury. Alicia reassures her that she was treated at the Duke's place and is completely healed. She then asks why Cecil is here. Cecil responds that the Earl, Alicia's father, is looking for her. Alicia was surprised. In their conversation, Cecil explained to Alicia that she had told the Earl, His Highness, that Alicia was sick. However, the Earl insisted on taking Alicia to him himself, despite knowing she was at the Duke's place with a guardian. This unusual situation raised questions for Alicia about why her father was seeking her out. Alicia instructed Cecil to go ahead to the carriage while she informed the Duke about the situation. Cecil agreed, and Alicia said she would join her shortly. Alicia, in an unfamiliar villa, reflects that the atmosphere is unexpectedly brighter. She wishes she had known this earlier so she could have asked for the Duke's whereabouts. Balin arrives and mentions she's going in the opposite direction. Alicia clarifies that she's on her way to see the Duke and explains that something has happened at her mansion, prompting her return. Alicia wonders if the Duke might have told her not to come back there again. Balin assures her that she can go and come back without being cautious of him, to which Alicia is pleasantly surprised. Balin gives Alicia a pendant with teleportation magic and instructs her on how to use it for returning. Alicia expresses her gratitude. Balin advises Alicia to go to the gate by herself for safety and assures her that he will ensure the maid gets home safely. Alicia is thankful but unsure how to express it. Balin asks her to promise to spend 2 hours each day climbing stairs to improve her physical strength, which he identifies as her current challenge. Alicia agrees to the promise.